Hi, I'm Shayla with Revolting Science Resources, a company designed to bring the principles of project management to academic scientists. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a project management resource known as the RACI chart. I actually already have a YouTube video on my channel that walks through what a RACI chart is and some of the different roles and responsibilities that exist in a RACI chart, more as part of a project plan specifically. But because I think the RACI chart has a lot of potential benefits to the academic research community, I'm giving it its own video. But if you'd like to learn more about how a RACI chart contributes to the overall plan for a research project, definitely check out that video on my channel. So, first, let's walk through what a RACI chart is and the different roles and responsibilities that exist within a RACI chart. So, a RACI chart helps define the roles and responsibilities of different lab members for a research project. And RACI is an acronym that stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed. So, let's walk through each of these specific roles and what those might look like in an academic research lab. So the R stands for responsible. The responsible lab member is primarily responsible for doing most of the work associated with the project and helping to drive the project forward and ensure there's continuous progress being made on the project. If you think about things in the context of an academic publication, this would be like the first author on a research paper. Next, you have the A, which stands for accountable. Accountable lab members are responsible for completion of delegated project tasks, and they might also be responsible for contributing to project decisions as well as various outcomes. Again, if you think about that academic publication format, if the responsible lab member is like the first author, accountable lab members are like the middle author as well as the last author or the PI of the lab. The C stands for consulted. So, consulted researchers on a project would provide feedback and guidance on the project's progress or ideas. This would likely include people like collaborators, committee members, or knowledgeable lab members who may not be directly contributing to a research project. And then lastly, the I stands for informed. Informed researchers on a project would likely only receive notifications when some significant progress or setbacks have been made or the project's completed. Some examples of people who might fall in the informed category are collaborators, committee members, but also funding sources as well. So that walks through all the roles and responsibilities essentially defined by this RACI chart and gives some examples of some people in a lab environment that might fall into these different categories. But now I actually want to walk through some of the clear benefits that exist for using something like a RACI chart in academic research. So the first is that assigning lab members a specific role from the RACI chart, especially at the very beginning of a project, helps clarify and set clear expectations for how different lab members will be involved in the research project. I think by providing some of these clear descriptions to roles that you assign lab members for a project, it helps them know what they're expected to do. So if I've been assigned as the person responsible for a lab project, I know I'm the one who needs to make sure that progress is continuously made. I know I likely will be the person also that's responsible for doing the majority of the work on this project. And those are really valuable things to know up front. Also, if I'm a person that is accountable for a research project, it's also really great to know that I'll be expected to do some of these experiments. Even if they're things that I maybe don't have to do immediately, it's good to know from the start I have expectations that I need to meet for a particular research project. I think it also is great because it gives a very clear person to be the leader of this research project. If something goes wrong, it could be sometimes trickier to figure out who exactly did this experiment or who was involved with the decisions that led to this particular outcome. But if we have one person who's responsible for this research project, they're responsible for the research project. Therefore, they're the person that you go to if any issues do come up during the project. Another thing I really like about assigning some of these specific roles to individuals involved in a research project from the beginning is that it also gives the researchers themselves the ability to speak up if they don't want to have some of the specific responsibilities that are being assigned to them for a project. So if a project idea has been created and someone is basically suggesting that I be the person responsible for this research project, but I already have two other projects that I'm responsible for, it then becomes a bit easier for me to say, like, I already have two projects I'm responsible for. Maybe this other lab member would be a better person to be responsible for this particular project, but I'd be happy to be accountable to some of the specific experiments that are involved. I think that can be really valuable for relieving some of the workload that we can feel, especially across multiple different projects that might exist within a lab. And connected to that idea, the second benefit of assigning RACI roles to specific lab members is that it makes it a little bit clearer to see if lab members are overextended or underutilized for all of the different research projects that are occurring within a lab. If I'm already responsible for two research projects and another grad student isn't responsible for any, they're only accountable on two, maybe this other project idea that I have would be perfect to assign them as the responsible lab member for. It also can help create maybe some stricter boundaries that could exist around projects within a lab. So, for an example, maybe it could just become a lab rule that no person can be responsible for more than two projects, and you can't be responsible or accountable for more than four projects. This can help make sure that progress is being made, things aren't falling through the cracks, but also that people are given the opportunity to take ownership of various projects or things that are occurring within the lab, especially if this is something that they're trying to do long term. What I'll also just interject quickly is that for a lot of project management, the kind of gold standard is that you should really only be working on one project at a time. But honestly, I don't think that works really well for academic research. If you're only working on one project at a time, that just very much increases the potential for not having a tangible outcome of that research project. Unlike a lot of projects that require some level of project management, a lot of academic research projects just simply fail. You can do years and years of work and put in a lot of effort and really have only negative data to show for it, which is still valuable, but a lot of the time it can't be put into some of the formats that we've decided are the currency of academic research. So, although I think it's valuable that academic scientists have multiple projects that they're responsible for and involved in, I think there can be too many projects that then create this level of hindrance in actually making significant progress. So, my recommendation too would just be make sure that you have a clear understanding of what the priority level is for all the different projects that people are participating in. And then the last benefit I'll cover in this video of assigning RACI roles to specific lab members for a research project is that it can help clarify and avoid conflicts around authorship decisions. This is especially true if you actually record some of the specific ways that different lab members involved with the research project have actually contributed to that project. So if you actually want to check out that project plan video that I have, that's kind of the idea behind a project plan. It includes more than just this information, but as one of the sections, you actually define all the lab members involved in the project. You give them a role from the RACI chart, and then it's their responsibility to kind of add in some of the specific ways that they've contributed to this research project based off of the role they've been given. What's really great about doing something like that is that first, it makes it a little clearer what order the authorship should really go in. If I would ask you what work made the second author on your paper the second author and not the third, having the contributions of each lab member more clearly described in some sort of document like a project plan makes that a bit easier to actually say something tangible about why this person was selected as second author versus another lab member. I think it's also really valuable for newer lab members who might join a project later, or other lab members who may have graduated and not been able to see their research through to publication. In a lot of cases, especially if there's a lot of years that have elapsed since a more senior researcher has left a lab, it's really hard to actually know exactly what they contributed to the research project. A lot of the time, it's just kind of based off the knowledge that the PI has of how various lab members contributed to a research project. But that's a lot to keep in your mind and keep track of over the course of a large number of years. So, having it be actually recorded somewhere, having clear designations of who's responsible versus accountable versus informed versus consulted for a research project makes it a lot easier to, especially after time has elapsed, be able to determine the order of authorship based off of the work that was contributed to this project. It also makes sure that people don't get left off, even if it has been years since they've contributed to the work done on a project. So that was a little bit more about RACI charts and some of the clear benefits I think it has in academic research to help just clarify the specific roles and expectations that different lab members might have for a specific research project. But that's it for this video. I'd love to hear in the comment section below why you think RACI charts might be a valuable addition to academic research. If you'd like a copy of this RACI chart, it is available for free in the RSR Resource Library, and I'll put a link to that in the description box below as well. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more videos like this one, subscribe to my channel. But that's it for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.